For an event that takes place every year, a century of history provides plenty of perspective and lots of fodder for stories and folklore. That's certainly true of the Pennsylvania Farm Show, which celebrates its centennial this year, and the mid-state folklore known as Farm Show weather. The nation's largest indoor agricultural event has 24 acres under roof. It's always in January. It started as a 3-day show in 1917 and most recently grew to 8 days in 2003. Basically, the Farm Show weather folklore says that some of the coldest and snowiest weather of the winter occurs during the show. Now, of course, our mild winter so far notwithstanding, it's supposed to be cold and occasionally snowy this time of year in Harrisburg, where the average January high and low are 37 and approximately 23, and average snowfall is about 8 inches. So any event that lasts a week or so has a good chance of getting at least some snow. The Farm Show weather folklore has its roots in 1918, the second year of the show. That January was and still is the coldest month on record in Harrisburg. The highest temperature during the show that year was just 24, and 16 inches of snow was on the ground after 4.5 inches fell on the first day. The 1920s brought enough wintry weather during the show to keep the fledgling folklore alive, and it really got a boost in 1935 when almost 8 inches of snow fell during the show. The next year, more than a foot fell the day before the show began, and temperatures bottomed out at -6 that week. Farm Show weather in the 1940s and 50s was unremarkable, but in 1964, a 2-day storm that ended on opening day left an 18-inch snow cover that helped temperatures drop below zero the next 2 nights. That year, more than any to that point, kept the folklore going. And in the 1970s, the weather started to cooperate more consistently. Here's a look at snowfall during the Farm Show every year since 1970. And notice that starting in 1974, it snowed 13 straight years. And you may remember that several Januaries in the late 70s were brutally cold in Pennsylvania. Then in the 1990s, it snowed during every Farm Show. But the one we all remember is off the chart here, 20 years ago, 1996, when the infamous blizzard dumped more than 20 inches on Harrisburg, most on the second day of the show, stranding many who were already there and keeping many others at home. Now, more recently, the snowy side of Farm Show weather folklore has kind of taken a hit. In 8 of the last 11 years, including 3 of the last 4, there hasn't been any measurable snow in Harrisburg during Farm Show week. And as for temperatures, here's the 10 warmest farm shows on record, most with average temperatures above 40, which is, of course, quite mild for January. 4 of the 10 have occurred since 2005. And the list of 10 coldest farm shows doesn't contain any years this century. The general lesson here, I think, is that all it really takes to keep a weather folklore going is an occasional big event. And the Farm Show weather folklore probably needs an injection of cold, snowy weather soon. Stay tuned. The extended forecast is coming up next.